Hi viewers, good evening. Today's graceful personality is from beautiful city Manchester. He has a lot of things to share in his CV. He is member of parliament. He has served as a Lord Mayor of Manchester and many things with his personality. One and only Afzal Khan. Welcome in our show.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. Nazir Saab, pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you very much, Afzal Khan, for joining me today.
I am looking forward to our discussion, and I hope it won't be my last. It's the first time I'm joining you.
Please tell our viewers about your early days and your education, please.
Ji, my early days, I have a family in Jhelum, and my grandparents are from Kashmir, Mirpur side. At the age of 11, I came here in Pendle, Lancashire, where I went to a secondary school. So I missed all my primary education in Britain. Part of the secondary education I went through. And then I left, and I usually make a joke of my life that I didn't actually sit an exam. So I usually say I left with the 9 and no levels. And then I started my job in a local factory. It was a mill. Cotton mill, Smith and Nephew, very famous, as a laborer. And then through that process, I suppose I did different things in that mill. I became a battery filler, then became a weaver. And then ultimately I left that and then went back into education. I did lots of other jobs in the way. So once I decided to leave the mill, and then I suppose what was I going to do? I knew I needed to go studying. But I also needed money to survive financially. So I did a lot of work. So I've been a bus driver, I've been a youth worker, I've been a police officer, I worked in taxi, other places, So I've done lots of jobs. So I've gone through working life in a mill and then also in a life as a living person. I went through mill as well.
So please tell our viewers how difficult was that time for especially integration point of view?
I think, look, difficulties on integration are still there with us. But I think at that time, and for each person, they have their own experience. And for me, I suppose the difficulty was that I came here at a very critical age and leaving everything that you know behind, the culture, the friends, the language, schools. My parents were in Pakistan. I was adopted by uncle. So all those things that you love, which are part of your life, suddenly are gone. And you are in another part of the world with totally different life. It's not easy. I think it's a huge sacrifice and huge emotional impact, I would say.
I will ask a very personal question here because you mentioned about your parents. So leaving at the age of 11, do you miss those childhood that you could not spend those time, very beautiful moments with your mom and dad?
Yes, I did actually. And I think it also disturbed me to certain degrees emotionally. Then after a while, I suppose I've been able to get my head around things and understand. For a period, I was very angry with them. I thought, why did you do this to me? But then, as you mature out, you understand the complexities of life, the difficulties. And then I appreciated myself, what they must have gone through as well. I was just sort of concerned with my own emotions and how I found that difficult. And then I realized, how must have been for my mother, how must have been for my father. It would have been no less painful, I think. So having that maturity in my own head helped me then to come to terms. And then I suppose, when you reflect back and see on balance the things that I've been able to do, the things that I've been able to achieve, it has opened up a new world for me. And that would not have happened if I'd stayed back home.
Do you mind to share the very first meeting, leaving at the age of 11, then going back, when you went after a while and see your parents? Please explain your feelings about that moment.
Look, I usually say that you can take a child out of Pakistan, but you can't take Pakistan out of a child. Yeah. So those feelings, those emotions which are from your childhood, these are very special memories. And then going back to those things, it's a very special feeling. But then I also shared with you the fact that I actually did have anger as well about it all. And then ultimately, you become wise of the world. And then through that, you realize, okay, a lot of people go through lots of ups and downs. There are a lot of challenging things that happen in one's life. And what is important is really not to be stuck in that, but actually accept of the past and learn from the past, learn from that experience, and then develop that into a sort of strong personality, and then take yourself forward. That's the key, because no one in the world can really go back. All we can do is live for today and hope for the better world tomorrow. It's that balance which is important. But it's not easy. It's easy said now, but when I went through it, I think it was very difficult. I remember in a way, I felt that they probably just did this for money. And then I thought, well, they love money more than they love me. So these are very difficult in a way questions, which and in a way not true as well. Partly probably true, but it's not the whole picture. It's important to try to get the whole picture.
But at the same time, I think you should be grateful because the education, the training, the personality you have built up from a very humble personality, and today, with the grace of God and with the praise of your parents and your uncle, you are, mashallah, in the very highest place. So please tell our viewers at what stage you decided to join politics.
I think it was 2000 when I first was elected. So I would say a couple of years before that, I joined up. I'm a member of Labour Party. I've always been a Labour Party person, and I think I will remain that. And then through that, I then had the opportunity to stand as a councillor. But how that whole journey came about, I think I felt as a community, we needed to have a voice. I felt that if you don't have your own voice, then you have to rely on someone else's voice. And for someone else, they need to understand your issues, your concerns, your feelings. And that's never easy. So no one can actually have better than yourself. So I felt that there was a need for this. And this is what really propelled me to go towards politics. But at the time, I had friends who said there was a real need for this. And I usually used to laugh at them. And I used to say, what are you talking about? I'm a person who never even bothers even voting. And you want me to be involved in politics. But I think it was the right idea they had, and they gave me the right advice. And on reflection, I also then followed through that advice. And then here I am. I've had an amazing journey politically. There's not many people in the UK who can say they've had a journey similar to mine. I have had virtually every elected position in Britain. I've been a councillor, I've been an executive member, I've been a Lord Mayor. When I was a Lord Mayor, I was the Mayor of the Year for the country by Co-op. That was an amazing achievement. And then went on to the European Parliament, which again was an excellent experience. It really helped me to develop, to grow. And there I was the Vice President of Security and Defence, which again, no one has ever held that from our background, which took me or opened the whole world for me, visiting so many different countries, looking at some of the most complex issues, some of the hot areas in the world to deal with the problems. So that actually was really good for me. Then in the European Parliament, I was made a special envoy for the Muslim world and for the Muslims in Europe. And that again, gave me lots of opportunities to meet lots of people, both in Europe and globally in the Muslim world. So that again was a unique experience, I suppose. And then moving on from there, of course, one of the things which has been close to my heart is fighting racism. You know, my own experience in schools and colleges being called Paki, all those things, you know, which lots of your viewers have experienced, the National Front and all that. And then ultimately, I took on Nick Griffin, who was the leader of the British National Party, who represented Northwest in the European Parliament, who used to spout out poison against Muslims in the Parliament. And I felt, I'm not having this, you know. It's not what we need in Britain. We need people who bring people together, not the people who divide. And I felt his message was of division. So it was an honor, really, to take him out and to replace him in the European Parliament. So that was an excellent experience. And then I had the opportunity to be a member of Parliament, mother of all parliaments, you know, to go there. I then had the challenge of beating George Galloway, very famous personality. And I had an amazing win against him. You know, it's a record win in Manchester's history. I've got so many votes. And so all the different communities in Manchester, you know, you have 200 languages. And for me to then pick up the sport across all those communities.
So how many languages you learn in Manchester? Sorry, Mr. Khan.
We have 200 languages. I can assure you I don't speak 200 languages. But I do speak about 5 languages, which is good. It's helpful. It's a richness and diversity, which is, I think, the strength. Manchester genuinely is an amazing world-class city. Anyone who comes there, they fall in love with Manchester. There are so many people in leadership position who are actually not from Manchester. They are from different parts of the world, different parts of the country, who have come here as students and they never leave. So there is some magnet in Manchester which pulls you and keeps you here. So I had an amazing experience. So when I got to the British Parliament, again, it was some journey. I think within 3 weeks, I was put on the front bench.
I have a very time restrained show, so I have to keep myself also according to the format of the show. I know
I'm guided by your question. So you ask the question and stop me when you think I need to move on.
Because I always, because of respect, I always make sure my guests feel that they can express all their feelings and they narrate for the viewers. Because this show is also not for me only, it is for my viewers. So now the next question is, because we are going through a very important phase of the history, leaving Europe, and because you have worked with the European Parliament, what is your say on it, please?
I think on a personal level, I think European Union is a great idea. I think it's a great idea for us and the people who live in Europe. I think it's also a great idea for the world. It's about nations living together with having close cooperation. If you think about life, how has the human journey? What is that journey? It started with individuals, families, clans, village, city, region, country. So what's next? There has to be some sort of cooperation between countries as well. And the more you can do that, the collective ideas, the more you can achieve. And we've seen that in the European Union. But the truth is the British people have decided and we have left. So that's past now. What is important is the type of relationship that we now have with Europe. And to that, it's very simple. It's always good to have good relations with your neighbors.
So we are now going through a very difficult time of COVID-19. So as a Labour Party member and as a citizen of Great Britain, how do you think the present government has taken this challenge?
I think, first of all, it is a big challenge, and I think it's a difficult challenge. So don't let me take that away from the whole issue, because I think the whole world has been engrossed into this issue. We've had this lockdown everywhere. We've seen the impacts of coronavirus all over the world. But I think when you look at it closely, you have to then say, sadly, this current government has handled it badly. And the reason I say that, not because of my political differences, no, because I understand this is an emergency, it's a new sort of virus, the difficulties. But the key point is, the rest of the world has also got this virus. How is it that they've handled? What sort of deaths have they had? And what sort of numbers have we have? That is important. And when you look at that scale, then you realize we are in one of the worst countries in the world. So what has gone wrong? Why? When we had one of the best health service in the world, NHS is the jewel in the crown in public services in Britain. It's the envy of the world. So why did we end up in this position? And then you will find that the decisions this government has taken, one over the last 10 years or so, has had an impact. And then on this crisis itself, how they've handled it, the decisions, I think fundamentally they've been always behind the curve. And the result of which has been that we had almost now approaching 50,000 deaths.
Do you think the lockdown was not been taken late, very late? It should have taken very
early. I think they were slow. But if you look at the whole thing, how it works, then the earlier you start, the best chance you have of keeping it under control. It's exponential growth in this virus. That's the issue. So every day delayed costs lives.
So we will discuss in somewhere in some other show, but this is very important discussion. I'll move forward because you have served as a shadow immigration minister. So please tell our viewers about your experience and what you have suggested and how you have suggested for the welfare of the your constituents and also for the public of the Great Britain.
I mean, I have had, again, like I said, I was lucky that within 3 weeks I was put on the front bench. I served almost good 2.5 years as a shadow immigration minister. Then for a short period, I also served as a shadow foreign office minister for South Asia and Africa and Commonwealth. And then I also currently, I am the shadow deputy leader of the House. So these are 3 different positions. All have been amazing experience personally. On the immigration, where I've spent the most time, I suppose at the heart of it, someone who has been an immigrant himself, who's come into this country, I know the feeling and the experience. I also understand the importance of immigration, how it has been beneficial to British public and the British country as a country. And the key point for me is the piecemeal development of the immigration law that Britain has seen. I think that has not been helpful. It has meant that we are currently in a position where the immigration law is so complex that even judges struggle to understand it. So one of the most important things that I've been pushing forward, especially with the Brexit, is a unique opportunity Britain has to really update our immigration system so that it becomes fit for 21st century and it becomes fit for the country, and so that it becomes fair for both those people who want to come here and contribute to this country, but also for people who are already here for this country, that is fair. And that fairness, I think, is missing in the immigration system. And I don't have too much confidence in current government that they will actually achieve anything, because we've seen in the last 10 years, I went through, in my period, I think 3 immigration ministers. Yeah. That doesn't help. You need consistency as well. So constantly having new ministers coming along, it is not helpful. And I also think they've been so obsessed with the number idea that we want to reduce these immigrations to tens of thousands. And the truth is, not in a single year, in all these 10 plus years that they've been in government, they have ever achieved what they say they want to achieve. So it's just unrealistic ideas they play with. And I think the reason they do it is who they are, because they want to sell themselves to the public that they are tough on immigration and they were going to stop this. So they do all the talking, but in reality, they've never been able to achieve it. And the truth is that we actually need some immigration. And the demographic we have, the way our economy operates, why is it that even current, when this pandemic started, before this, there was 100,000 vacancies in our health service? Why? So there is all that need. So you can see that there is a need. What we need to do is have a good systems which are fair and which work for the country.
So recently, the government has introduced this point-based system, which is almost taken from the Australian immigration system and the law. So do you think it will work? Number one. And number two, in this system, the way it has been introduced and education level has been taken very high. So mostly the opportunity has been given to the PhDs. So how many PhDs from all over the world we will attract in this system?
Look, there are a number of problems with this system. I mean, one is the education aspect that you talked about. The truth is, in education systems, Britain is falling behind other countries. More and more people, the brain power that you get from students are actually going to other countries. So the whole system they have been operating on education and students has actually been unhelpful to Britain. The second point I think I would say to you is the wage level that they have put there. Some of the people we need, nobody's going to pay that money, but we need them. People in the social services, people in the health services, the nurses and others. We need them all, who can look after us. Now, if you're not going to the pay level that they're putting up, we will struggle with that. So that's not going to help. Even the other end, they talk about skilled, but even some unskilled people we need. I mean, I know from my experience as a shadow immigration minister that even people who come here to pick fruits, pick up vegetables, right, they're not paid much. The payment for them is very low. And we have always struggled to get people from Britain to do that. But if we don't do it, is the economy, worth is billions of pounds. We're going to lose out.
Mr.
And then if you keep looking...
My apologies. I'll stop you here, but we will continue our second part of the show, which is also the guest with Nazir, which is going for the next week because the discussion is so beautiful. So I want to continue for the second part. So please, second part, will please continue.
Yeah, so I think when you look at then immigration like that, then you realize that there's a mistake. And the final point on immigration I'll make to you is that this system, you said yourself, that is based on Australian style. But let's not forget the basic idea. The immigration system which they have copied is from Australia, but Australia is a continent. They're huge. Their system of immigration is designed to encourage immigration, not to discourage. Whereas the system they want to apply here is to discourage. So it means that how is it going to work?
So they have a big jacket and big country, and we have a very small size. So it means it will be
absolutely. So following their model, how does that tie in with our needs? So that's why actually I don't have too much confidence in it.